1963. The Beatles have just conquered Britain. Millions of girls are screaming at every concert. Journalists coin a new word, Beatlemania. John, Paul, George, and Ringo are becoming the biggest band in the world. Meanwhile, in Liverpool, a young man reads about it in the newspaper. He knows all four of them personally. He shared the stage with them. He was one of them for exactly 2 years. But he was kicked out just 8 weeks before it all began. His name is Pete Best, and this is perhaps the cruelest story in the history of rock music. It all started in a basement on Hayman's Green in Liverpool. Pete's mother, Mona Best, opened a teen club there, the Casbah Coffee Club. A local band called the Quarrymen, the future Beatles, played some of their very first shows there. That's how Pete met John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison. In the summer of 1960, the band got an offer for a long-term residency in Hamburg. One problem, they didn't have a drummer. Pete had a kit. Pete knew how to play. That was enough. On August 12, 1960, the day before they left, he was invited to join. No audition, no rehearsal. Hamburg changed everything. The clubs of the Reeperbahn, the city's red light district. The band played 8 hours a night, 7 days a week. It was a survival school. That's where they became real musicians, and Pete Best was right there with them. He drummed in Hamburg, at the Cavern Club in Liverpool, through hundreds of gigs. 2 years, shoulder to shoulder. What's more, the girls loved him more than the rest. Dark, moody, photogenic. Fans chanted his name. Some even thought he was the face of the band. 1962. After many rejections, producer George Martin from EMI finally agreed to record the Beatles. The first session took place on June 6, 1962. Pete was on the drums. Martin liked the band, but he didn't like the drummer. He told manager Brian Epstein that they could use a session musician for recordings. Pete could stay for the live shows. It wasn't an order to fire him. It was just a suggestion. But John, Paul, and George saw their moment. They had been thinking about Ringo Starr, the drummer for another Liverpool band who had filled in for Pete a few times. Every time Ringo sat behind the kit, something clicked. The chemistry was different. Off stage, Ringo was already one of them. He hung out at the same bars and shared their sense of humor. Pete, on the other hand, often kept to himself, staying distant from the group's social circle. He was a band member, but he was never quite part of the inner tribe. On August 16, 1962, Epstein called Pete into his office. He was nervous. He spoke carefully. He said the band was moving in a new direction, that Pete was no longer needed. Pete couldn't believe it. They were his friends. He helped them get to Hamburg. His mother gave them their first stage. He had never missed a gig without a serious reason. Not one of the three. Not Lennon. Not McCartney. Not Harrison. Called him personally. None of them came to talk. Epstein did all the dirty work himself. Ringo Starr played his first gig with the Beatles on August 18, 1962, just 2 days after Pete was sacked. On October 5th, their first single, Love Me Do, was released. It hit the top 20. In 1963, Britain went mad for the Beatles. In 1964, they conquered America. 73 million people watched them on The Ed Sullivan Show, the greatest band in history. And Pete Best was not a part of it. Pete's fans organized protests. At the first shows with Ringo, the crowd chanted, "Pete forever, Ringo never." George Harrison even got a black eye from a fan who punched him on stage for kicking Pete out. And Pete? He tried to keep his music career going. He formed the Pete Best Four, then another band. But everywhere he went, journalists asked only one thing. What's it like to be the guy kicked out of the Beatles right before they got famous? The music wasn't working. In 1965, he tried to take his own life. His younger brother, Rory, kicked in the door just in time. In 1968, while the Beatles were recording the White Album, Pete Best went to work at a commercial bakery, packing sliced bread for minimum wage. Pete became a civil servant in Liverpool. For 20 years, he helped people find jobs. A quiet, invisible life next to the loudest shadow in the music industry. In 1988, for the first time in 20 years, he agreed to play drums in public at a Beatles fan convention. After the performance, his wife and mother told him, "You're going to get back on stage." He didn't believe them. Then came 1995, a phone call he never expected. It was the Beatles' office. It wasn't Paul or George. It was an official representative. No, the news was staggering. The Beatles were releasing Anthology, a massive collection of early recordings. 10 tracks on that collection featured Pete on drums. He was entitled to royalties. The amount he received was reported to be between £1 and £8 million. The man who packed bread while his former partners became the richest musicians on the planet finally got his share. 33 years later, on the cover of Anthology, there's a small photo on the left, almost unnoticeable. That is Pete Best. And after decades of silence, Pete formed the Pete Best Band. He started touring the world again, recording albums and playing the same stages where the Beatles story first began. The Anthology royalties gave him financial freedom, but returning to the drums gave him back his identity. There is a question that haunts this story to this day. Was Pete Best really a worse drummer than Ringo? The answer is probably yes. Ringo had more freedom, more humor in his playing, a better sense of rhythm for studio recording. But Pete was good enough for hundreds of gigs, for Hamburg, for 2 years of working side by side. The truth is, he wasn't chosen, not because he was terrible, but because someone else was better. At the most critical moment, 8 weeks before the start, Pete himself put it simply, "I've survived it. I've found my happiness. I have a family. I have peace of mind. I don't need the Beatles' fame to feel like a complete person." This isn't a tragedy of a broken man. This is the story of someone who was one step away from the world's greatest success, fell, and stood back up anyway. If this story touched you, subscribe. This channel is about the people who were one step away from greatness.